up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, where we go over the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, or I should say tonight, we have some Lions news. The Lions have signed 2 players from rookie minicamp that were on tryouts. So let's get it started.
Up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Yeah! He's a goal! Oh, there's nobody! Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we have some Lions news, and this is just some feel-good news. I mean, it really is. Out of 5 players that came in for a tryout for the Detroit Lions, 2 of them have been signed, basically getting another opportunity to showcase their skills, be brought back. And I just can't help but have a smile on my face for these guys, and I'm just super excited for them. Honestly, I really am, because this is a really cool opportunity that they took advantage of. Now, Dan Campbell told us this morning that, look, you're not going to make a roster spot in rookie minicamp. You know, we're barely doing, team-on-team drills. We did 7-on-7 drills for 10 plays. We're not wearing pads. It's not that physical. It's just kind of skill positions, but it's also just trying to, kind of get back in the rhythm, kind of get back in the flow of things. Some of these guys opted out just seeing these guys on the field. However, for these players that they brought in for a tryout, the 5 players that they did, they were really competing to see if they should get another look, basically. If they should get brought back, for training camp, get another opportunity then. And the Detroit Lions signed 2 players from it. So I think that is just really awesome. We're going to talk about these 2 guys a little bit more into detail. We may even do a film video on these 2 guys at some point. But these 2 players that have been signed by the Detroit Lions include Alijah Holder, the cornerback / safety out of Stanford, and also the tight end out of Portland State, Charlie Taumoepeau. Yes, is that right? No, it's not right. I'm sorry. I heard someone say it when I was watching the game, but then the next time he said it differently, so I was like, oh, dang, okay, well, I'm not sure which one to go with here. So I just went with the one that I tried to, spell. I know it's wrong, I'm sorry. So we're just going to stick to Charlie, but I think this is pretty cool because last time we talked about this, when we talked about these players that were coming in for a trial, we're like, hey, this guy could feel like that H-back kind of role. Like, this would be a really interesting schematic fit for the Detroit Lions. So those 2 guys have been signed, and they're basically going to get another opportunity when training camp and things like that come around to showcase their skills against, some of the players that are on a roster. It doesn't guarantee they're going to make a spot. It's still an uphill battle for sure. But I think it's just cool that they're getting an opportunity to come back. So definitely very excited for those 2 guys. But let's talk about them a little bit, shall we? Let's talk about Alijah Holder first a little bit. This cornerback out of Stanford. I say safety, but really he was a cornerback out of Stanford that transitioned to the safety position in the NFL. He was signed as UDFA back in 2019. And in February of 2021, he was released by the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos brought him in and they transitioned him from cornerback to safety. And really, the main reason they did that is because of his size and length. He's 6'2", 190 pounds, somewhat similar to Melifonwu in terms of length and size. Not really the build, a little bit lighter in those regards. He competed for a backup role, and, that's a pretty long time to stay with one team. He was on and off from the active roster practice squad, kind of back and forth. He had an injury that he dealt with in the preseason, transition positions, and I would expect that's kind of what his role would be for the Lions, just, for him in training camp is kind of like a safety role. I don't know if they try to move him back to cornerback, but with that being his background, it does give him some versatility. Now, when we touched on him last time, I think we hit on a lot of big things here. And like I said, we may do a film video on him at some point. But I think, there's a clear-cut way that you can use a guy like this. His length and height are 2 of his biggest strengths. And it shows off when you watch him play back in college. In terms of contested situations, go up and get it, jump ball situations, his pass breakups are through the roof. On 80 targets, he had 10 forced incompletions and 7 pass breakups in his last year at Stanford. His pass breakups are super high because you throw it anywhere near him, he can get really his hands on the football. And remember what Brad Holmes said. There were certain intangibles that he was looking for guys in the draft, and defensively, he focused on length. And that's clearly something that Alijah Holder brings. See, the thing about length is that when you have length defensively, it can translate to a lot of different things. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to be good at block shedding or good at pass breakups. It gives you the ability to add that to your game because that's just something that can't be taught. Length is a really cool thing to build on with a defensive player. He's only 25 years old. We know both these guys are young, but that's where he really fits well. But he's also a really good run support defender as well. Now, he doesn't shed blocks at the highest level right now. Too often he gets stuck on wide receiver screens, he gets stuck on blocks downfield, and you want to shed those more often considering the fact that he does have that great length because usually that can be used as that can be used as an advantage as a defender, but he still doesn't shed at a very high level. However, he is a good run defender. He's a good tackler, and he was one of the best run support cornerbacks in the country back when he was at Stanford. There was a pretty consistent playmaker in the preseason when he got his opportunities there, and that's really where he got his opportunities. Didn't really play in the regular season, so we do film. We might just go through his preseason games that he did play in, but I think what you notice is kind of some of that cornerback background showing up as a safety. He anticipates that when it pays off, because it's like, oh, you kind of, maybe predicted that because he used to play corner. You kind of can tend to see, the footwork, how things are coming out when he's kind of lining out of the break. So for him transitioning to safety, he has a lot of traits that do transition to safety. You can use him as a blitzer. To me, I just see a strong safety here. That's personally what I see, a guy that fits like a strong safety, could potentially go into the box, and because of his cornerback background and man-to-man situations, you could have some confidence that, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to be completely lost. However, coming out of the draft, there were definitely some concerns for him being a cornerback at the next level because there are limitations in terms of his short area quickness, in terms of his acceleration. Those were concerns. He wasn't the best with his change of direction. He was a little bit lanky, so at a cornerback spot, it's a little bit concerning. So you said, okay, because of his length, because of his good tackling, a press corner maybe is fit late, or maybe you try to make him cover 3, but he's not showing these great breaks on the football. However, I think at the safety position, it takes a lot of things that he does well, and it can kind of, showcase that as a good tackler, being a guy that can really go up and run support, having good size. Length is huge for the safety position. It's something that Trayvon Merrick had. He had great length, and it helped him a ton with pass breakups, jumping down, crashing down on routes, and that's something that can be utilized here. Now, I don't know if I see a deep safety role because of, he's just not that fast. He doesn't have that great speed, but what you see less is that short area quickness. It's less exposed from that position than it would be from the cornerback spot. But again, because of his size and his background, he could have the ability to slide down against the tight end because he has the size to do it, but also he is comfortable sliding into man-to-man coverage or sliding in his own coverage. So he has the comfortability there. He's just not really suited for that, at least from what we've seen so far on film, and the Broncos felt the same way when they did it. So for me, this is a guy that's going to compete with that kind of strong safety box type of role that can do a lot of different things. He'll compete with the Melifonwu, even though Melly's not going anywhere, but he'll compete with the Bobby Prices, to me, the Jalen Elliott's. He'll compete with those guys. He'll give those guys, Dean Marlowe, he'll give those guys a run for the money, but he needs to really prove himself and his ability to play inside the box. I think that could really help his chances, but with his skill set, he could also be valuable on special teams as well, and we know that that's what the Lions were running through a ton in rookie minicamp, so they may have saw something there and like, hey, this could translate to special teams. So, we'll give him another shot. We got to see this guy again because there's enough things here to give him another shot. So, congratulations, Elijah Holder. I mean, statistically speaking, like I said, the pass breakups are outstanding. Safety could fit the bill really well when you talk about a guy like Elijah Holder. And then we have Charlie. Now, I'm just going to stick to Charlie. I ain't going to try to say his last name because I already messed it up. At 6'3", 245, some people say 6'2", 240. Regardless, when you watch Charlie, he was one of the top tight ends in the country statistically when he was in college, playing at Portland State. This guy had no offers until, late in his senior year that he finally got offers. And when he stepped into Portland State, I mean, this guy is just a playmaker. He's missed a lot of time, actually, because of injuries back in college. But the first thing I recognized when I watched this film is, boom, the schematic fit. I mean, it was like, boom. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. We did this Anthony Lynn video, talk about the offense schemes could be, pistol, spread, things like this. And then all of a sudden you start watching this guy's film and you see a very similar offense Portland State is utilizing. A lot of pistol, a lot of spread formations. You're like, oh, the schematic fits right there. And we talk about H-backs, an H-back is kind of like a fullback type of build. He's not necessarily as much as a receiving threat as a tight end, but he kind of has like an in-between, tweenish type of build that can go out and catch passes, but can also be a lead blocker. And that's kind of the role that he fits. He's built sort of like a fullback. He's not that big like some tight ends. Like Darren Fells is 6'7". He ain't that big, all right? He's definitely short. He's got shorter length or prototypical tight end. So he's kind of a tweener as a fullback tight end, but that gives him potentially a role as an H-back. But the thing is, when you watch him back in college, is that, obviously not playing for the biggest school. However, when you watch him, he lined up everywhere. I mean, they put him in line. They put him in the slot. They lined this guy out wide. They lined him as an H-back, as a lead blocker. They put him all over the field, and he was able to be productive in different ways. What's with him is he's a very, very reliable pass catcher. Consistently, game in and game out, he's going to make grabs, and he catches passes away from his body as well. He doesn't let it come to his body if he doesn't have to. So he's a good pass catcher. His stats are outstanding when he was on the field at Portland State. Of course, like I said, not the best competition, but the biggest thing here is that when he played against the best, the FBS schools, the Oregon States, the Arkansas, calls. He stepped up and he was involved and he was a big part of their offense in those games. And he showed out and it was like, oh, he can compete against the best of the best. That's legit. I mean, it was always like, hey, coming in this game, you got to watch for Charlie. He's the player to watch. And he was the player to watch. I mean, he wasn't like dangerous. He wasn't scary. I was expecting him to be more scary because when you listen to him at the Senior Bowl, where he really showed up at the Senior Bowl and, did well there, when you listen to him, he said he thinks his best trait is catching the ball and running after the catch. So yak is something that he gets a lot of credit for. And he said that was, his kind of favorite trait because he likes doing it, things like that. I was expecting maybe more of that, more make you miss. He's not that shifty, He doesn't have that great acceleration, great burst, great make you miss ability, I guess I would say. However, you can definitely tell that he likes to do it. I mean, he likes to try to run after the catch, try to make something happen. If he was strictly a tight end / receiver like a Hunter Bryant, he would probably struggle with that role, at least in most matchups to me, because he wouldn't get a lot of separation in man-to-man coverage. And he's not that big where he's a big zone target or something like that, where it's like, oh, he's 6'5", I just got to throw it. Like, he's 6'2", 240. That's small for a tight end, right? So for him, it doesn't really fit that role best. In certain situations, you can do it. And it worked at Portland State because, it was like, okay, we're at a smaller school. However, that ability is huge, but it makes sense for an H-back role. A guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. He's not going to make you miss. He's not going to be a deep threat. He's not going to scare you, even though he did clock over 18 miles per hour in his final rep at the Senior Bowl, and Elijah Holder was less than 18 miles per hour. I'm just saying that he did clock some top end speed. He's healthy, but he just lacks some of that size, length, speed, things like that to make him a prototypical tight end. But when you watch him as a blocker, he's aggressive. I see issues staying connected. I think that shows up because of length, for sure. So that is something that he could improve on. Also, some of that side-to-side movement isn't the best either because of that. Some shiftier defenders can get by him. When you line him up there in line, he's going against an edge. The length shows up as an issue trying to block. But he is an aggressive blocker. He's a willing blocker, and that can lead to him being a solid lead blocker. Not great, but a solid lead blocker. So I think he brings that type of mindset that you want. He was a threat in college, and he looked at by a lot of people as a potential steal, as like a 4th round, 5th round option that went undrafted. And he's bounced around. He's been with the Cowboys. He's been with 3 teams. He's been with the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Colts already. So he's played for a lot of different teams. He's got opportunities in a lot of different spots. And now here he is with the Detroit Lions. Again, his pro day numbers aren't great. He did have a 36-inch vertical, which is pretty darn solid, and a 7-second 3-cone drill. I mean, it's not bad. It doesn't show great make you miss, but you can see that he tries. And you can see that he likes to do it. Like, I see him trying to hurdle people, things like that. He just doesn't seem to be as scary for defenses. But that versatility, that ability to do a lot of different things and to be relied upon consistently allows you to be someone that coaches can say, okay, we'll use you in this role. So he's going to compete directly with 2 spots. He's going to compete with those blocking tight ends and our fullbacks. Nick Bawden and Jason Kabinda, he's going to compete because he can play that kind of role too. So this is direct competition for them. Also, he's going to compete with Brock Wright, Jake Hausman, those 2 tight ends well, because they're more blocking tight ends. I don't think he's not going to compete with TJ Hawkins. Hawkinson's, Hawk. We know what Hawk's all about. Let's say Mac maybe a little bit, but Mac's more of a receiving threat. And it was clear the kind of guy the Lions wanted when they brought in Josh Hill and they signed him. But since he's retired, the Lions have brought in legit competition. All these guys that bring some similar traits. For him, it's those guys that are known more of blocking guys that can catch the ball. He's going to directly compete with them. So, the more competition, the better. And like I said, he was a stud in college. Not the best comp, but when he played against the best comp, looked pretty darn good. So I'm just excited for these 2 guys. I'm wishing them the best of luck. Hopefully they make the team. Not everybody can make the team, but I think it's a really cool opportunity, and I think it's just really cool for them. So congratulations, guys. Keep grinding, and hopefully we see you in the Lions uniform. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.